Good afternoon everyone. Today, we'll be talking about the concept of foreign direct investment. And the living wages and the Declaration of Philadelphia will be introduced. Do you know the concept of foreign direct investment?
Yes. FDI is an investment made by a firm or an individual in one country into business interests located in another country.
Can you elaborate more on it?
Sure. First, let me give you some details about methods and types of FDI. FDI can be made in a variety of ways, including the opening of subsidiary or associate company in a foreign country, and acquiring a controlling interest in an existing foreign company, acquiring a controlling interest in an existing foreign company, or by means of a merger or joint venture with a foreign company. Moreover, FDI can be categorized as horizontal, vertical or conglomerate. Horizontal FDI is an investment in the same industry abroad as a firm operates in at home. Vertical FDI takes two forms. Backward vertical FDI is where an industry abroad provides inputs for a firm's domestic production process, while forward vertical FDI is when an industry abroad sells the outputs of a firm's domestic production.
Can you give me some examples of horizontal and vertical FDIs?
Yeah, sure. Toyota assembling cars in both Japan and the UK is an example of horizontal FDI. Forward vertical FDI is Toyota acquiring a car distributorship in America, while backward vertical FDI is Toyota acquiring a tire manufacturer, or a rubber plantation.
How can companies benefit from FDI?
It gives the company access to new markets, which helps the company expand its market reach. Obtaining access to resources is another benefit. By investing in a foreign company, it can gain access to new technologies, resources, management skills and cooperation opportunities. Reducing cost of production is another main advantage that gives the company the ability to manufacture products cheaper due to cheaper raw materials.
Let me give you some of the examples of foreign investments made by different international companies. Companies such as Apple, Nike, Gap, Ford, General Motors, Volkswagen have invested billions in China. The U.S. investments made in China were valued at about $92.48 billion in 2016. China was ranked the world's third largest FDI recipient after U.S. and the U.K. It was ranked the second most attractive to MNCs after the U.S. British Petroleum made one of the biggest FDI in India, with $7.2 billion tie-up with Reliance Industries to explore for deepwater oil and gas. In February 2018, IKEA announced its plans to invest up to $612 million to set up multi-format stores and experience centers. The German automaker BMW invested $1 billion in their plant in South Carolina, and Samsung Display invested $2.5 billion in their plant in northern Vietnam.
Great. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of FDI?
Advantages include employment and economic boost, tax incentives, development of human capital resources, increased productivity, reduced cost of production, higher wages. The recipient country can also benefit from improved knowledge and expertise of MNCs.
Some of the disadvantages are risks from political changes, negative influences on exchange rates, pricing competition, cultural differences, expropriation, risk of increased capital flows and potential environmental laws.
Have you guys heard about the Declaration of Philadelphia?
I haven't heard about it.
I know. The Declaration of Philadelphia was adopted by the International Labour Conference during its 26th session in Philadelphia on the 10th of May 1944. It restates the aims and purpose of the International Labour Organization. At present, International Labour Organization has 187 member states.
Okay, thanks for that. But what was the main purpose of it?
The conference reaffirms the fundamental principles on which the organization is based and, in particular, that labor is not a commodity. Freedom of expression and of association are essential to sustained progress. Poverty anywhere constitutes a danger to prosperity everywhere. Also, it referred to the importance of a minimum living wage to all employed and in need of such protection.
What is a living wage?
The idea of a living wage is that workers and families should be able to afford a basic, but decent, lifestyle is considered acceptable by society as its current level of economic development. Workers and their families should be able to live above the poverty level, and be able to participate in social and cultural life.
So, is it same as a minimum wage?
No, the living wage is an informal benchmark, not a legally enforceable minimum level of pay, like the minimum wage. Also, the elements to determine a minimum wage do not include precise indicators on which needs of workers to be taken into account when setting wage levels. A living wage, on the other hand, does provide such indicators.
Great. Now, you guys have a better understanding of the concept of FDI. Let me tell you guys what the linkage between FDI and wages are. It is quite evident that multinational corporations pay higher wages when compared to domestic firms. This explains the positive relationship between FDI inflows and wages. MNCs in China pay workers with same level of qualifications and skills twice as much when compared to domestic firms. Due to increased competition, domestic firms increase their wages, which will lead to an overall increase in wages, leading to better and improved living conditions in an economy. Lower labor standards in developing countries such as China and India allows them to achieve a substantial amount of competitive advantage over developed countries. These two countries have been able to attract adequate amounts of FDI into the economy over the past few decades. However, due to increased labor cost, many countries are against strict application of labor standards, mainly because it discourages FDI, especially in deciding the location for high labor-intensive industries. As you can see from the graph, FDI inflows have increased in both developed and developing countries in the years 2015 and 2016. United States was ranked number 1, while Ireland and Hong Kong were ranked number 2 and 3 respectively. Increased FDI inflows into these countries have resulted in enhanced economic growth and development. Now, let me give you an overall summary of what we have discussed so far. Although FDI has positive effects, like improving worker living wages and increasing GDP, it also has some negative impacts, such as pressure on local companies. So, the government should implement adequate measures and policies to influence and regulate FDI. Foreign investments are therefore not advantageous or disadvantageous by themselves. Their contribution depends on the policy and behavior of MNCs and host country governments. The Declaration of Philadelphia ensures both economic and social welfare for workers. It also states that all people deserve economic security and job opportunities, and that workers should be provided with proper working conditions. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.